In a narration found in Jami at-Tirmidhi, number 2344, the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, advised that if people truly trusted Allah, the Exalted, He would provide for them just like He provides for birds. They leave their nests hungry in the morning and return in the evening satisfied. Truly trusting in Allah, the Exalted, is something which is felt in the heart but is proven through the limbs, meaning, when one sincerely obeys Allah, the Exalted, by fulfilling His commands, refraining from His prohibitions, and by facing destiny with patience according to the traditions of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. Chapter 65 at Talaq, verse 3.
And whoever relies upon Allah, then He is sufficient for him.
The aspect of trust which is internal involves firmly believing that only Allah, the Exalted, can provide one with beneficial things and protect them from harmful things both in worldly and religious matters. A Muslim understands that the source of giving, withholding, harming or benefiting is none other than Allah, the Exalted. A Muslim truly believes that everything that occurs within their life, which Allah, the Exalted, alone decides, is best for everyone involved, even if this is not obvious to them and others. Chapter 2 Al-Baqarah, verse 216.
But perhaps you hate a thing and it is good for you, and perhaps you love a thing and it is bad for you. And Allah knows while you know not.
It is important to note that truly trusting in Allah, the Exalted, does not mean one should abandon using the means which Allah, the Exalted, has provided, such as medicine. As the main narration under discussion clearly mentions that the birds leave their nests actively searching for provision. When one uses the strength and means provided by Allah, the Exalted, according to the teachings of Islam, they are undoubtedly obeying and relying on Him. This is in fact the outward element of trusting in Allah, the Exalted. This has been made clear in many verses and narrations. Chapter 4 and Nisa, verse 71.
O you who have believed, take your precaution.
In reality, the outward activity is a tradition of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, and trusting Allah, the Exalted, inwardly is the inward state of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. One should not abandon the outward tradition, even if they possess the inward state of trust. Actions and using the means provided by Allah, the Exalted, is an aspect of trusting Him. In this respect, actions can be split into three categories. The first are those actions of obedience which Allah, the Exalted, commands Muslims to do so that they can obtain peace and success in both worlds. Abandoning these actions while claiming trust that Allah, the Exalted, will grant one peace and success is simply wishful thinking and has no value in Islam. The second type of actions are those means which Allah, the Exalted, has created in this world in order for people to live in it safely, such as eating when hungry, drinking when thirsty, and wearing warm clothes in cold weather. A person who abandons these and causes harm to themselves is blameworthy. However, there are some people who have been provided special strength by Allah, the Exalted, so that they can avoid these means without harming themselves. For example, the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, used to fast for days on end uninterrupted but forbade others from doing the same, as Allah, the Exalted, provided for him directly without the need for food. This is confirmed in a narration found in Sahih Bukhari, number 1922. The Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, prayed for the fourth rightly guided Caliph Ali bin Abu Talib, may Allah be pleased with him, so that he would not feel excess cold or heat. This is confirmed in a narration found in Sunan Ibn Majah, number 117. Therefore, if a person turns away from these means but is provided with the strength to endure without failing in their duties to Allah, the Exalted, and people, then it is acceptable, otherwise it is blameworthy. The third type of actions in respect to trusting in Allah, the Exalted, are those things which have been set as a customary practice, which Allah, the Exalted, sometimes breaks for certain people. An example of this are the people who become cured of illnesses without the need of medicine. This is quite common, especially in poorer countries where medicine is difficult to obtain. This is linked to a narration found in Sunan Ibn Majah, number 2144, which advises that no person will die until they utilize every ounce of their provision which was allocated to them, which according to another narration found in Sahih Muslim, number 6748, was over 50,000 years before Allah, the Exalted, created the heavens and the earth. So the one who truly realizes this narration might not seek provision actively, knowing that what was allocated to them so long ago cannot miss them. So for this person the customary means of obtaining provision, such as obtaining it through a job, is broken by Allah, the Exalted. This is a high and rare rank. Only the one who can behave in such a manner without complaining or panicking, nor expecting things from people, is free of blame if they choose this path. It is important to note that the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, has warned in a narration found in Sunan Abu Dawud, number 1692, that it is a sin for a person to fail in providing for their dependents, even though they may be on this high rank. Though it is important to note that using the means one has been granted, according to the teachings of Islam, is far better than abandoning them, as nothing is superior to the way of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. Chapter 3 Ali Imran, verse 31.
Say, Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, if you should love Allah then follow me, so Allah will love you and forgive you your sins.
Having real trust in Allah, the Exalted, leads to being content with destiny. Meaning, whatever Allah, the Exalted, chooses for one, they accept without complaint and without desiring things to change, as they firmly trust that Allah, the Exalted, only chooses the best for His servants. Chapter 2 Al-Baqarah, verse 216.
But perhaps you hate a thing and it is good for you, and perhaps you love a thing and it is bad for you. And Allah knows while you know not.
To conclude, it is best to follow the traditions of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, by using the lawful means one has been granted according to the teachings of Islam, firmly believing they are from Allah, the Exalted, and trust internally that only what Allah, the Exalted, decides will occur, which is undoubtedly the best choice for each person involved, whether they observe and realize this or not. In a narration found in Sahih Bukhari, number 5705, the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, advised that 70,000 Muslims will enter paradise without reckoning and described their characteristics. The first characteristic is that they do not treat themselves with spiritual incantations. This is when one recites words connected to the Holy Quran or the narrations of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, and blows over themselves or others in order to treat a sickness or problem. This method is completely lawful according to many narrations, such as the one found in Sahih Bukhari, number 5741. The unlawful type is when one uses satanic words. Even though lawful incantations are permissible, unfortunately, some Muslims become so engrossed and attached to them that they depend and trust more in them than they trust in Allah, the Exalted. Meaning, they almost behave they will only become cured if they do an incantation, as if the power to heal lies in it. This belief contradicts true trust in Allah, the Exalted, as in reality, the source of everything is Allah, the Exalted, alone. He only chooses to cure some people through means, such as conventional medicine or incantations. A Muslim should never rely so much on incantations, believing without them a successful outcome is not possible. This is similar to the one who recites spiritual exercises, believing if they fail to do so, they will not be protected from illness and misfortune, or they believe they can somehow change one's destiny, which is completely untrue. Allah, the Exalted, protects people, and He can do so with or without spiritual exercises. Meaning, He is not dependent on anything to achieve something. One must instead sincerely obey Allah, the Exalted, by using the means He has provided them, such as medicine, according to Islamic teachings, and rely on Allah, the Exalted, to choose the best outcome for them in every situation. No other has any control in deciding what occurs and should therefore not be feared. Chapter 9 at Tawbah, verse 51.
Say, never will we be struck except by what Allah has decreed for us. He is our protector. And upon Allah let the believers rely.
In addition, engrossing oneself in spiritual incantations often leads to a worse illness than they originally feared, namely, paranoia. Paranoia causes one to think negatively about Allah, the Exalted, and people. This only leads to weakness of faith and damaging one's relationships with others. In addition, the primary goal of Islamic teachings is the practical obedience of Allah, the Exalted, not performing incantations. A Muslim can use lawful incantations, but it is best to understand that the source of help is Allah, the Exalted, and nothing can prevent His help nor aid them if He decides something else for them. Another issue with depending too much on spiritual exercises, such as incantations, is that when these people face difficulties, instead of firstly observing themselves and their behavior, to see if they need to change it for the better, and to remain steadfast on the obedience of Allah, the Exalted, patiently waiting for relief, they turn to uneducated and inexperienced people who claim to fix worldly things through spiritual exercises. As indicated earlier, these people only cause a Muslim to adopt an illness which is far worse than their initial problem, namely, paranoia. They convince Muslims that their problems have either been caused by supernatural creatures, such as jinns, or by black magic which someone has used against them. Even though jinns do exist, it is very rare for them to affect people in their worldly matters. This causes Muslims to become severely paranoid and superstitious over petty things, and it even causes them to grow suspicious over their friends and relatives. This only leads to enmity and fractured relationships. It is important for Muslims to strengthen their faith through gaining and acting on Islamic knowledge. This will prevent them from turning to such foolish people who cannot even fix their own problems, let alone fix the problems of others. Strong faith will prevent paranoia affecting them, as they will rely fully on Allah, the Exalted. Strong faith makes a Muslim understand that even if the entire creation desired to harm them, they will not be able to do so unless Allah, the Exalted, allowed it. Similarly, the entire creation could not benefit them unless Allah, the Exalted, willed it. And every case and situation only occurs according to a set and unchangeable plan, namely, destiny. This has been advised throughout Islamic teachings, such as the far-reaching narration found in Jami' at-Tirmizi, number 2516. Finally, engrossing oneself in spiritual exercises not rooted in Islamic teachings also encourages one to treat the treasury of Allah, the Exalted, like a shop where one buys worldly things from Allah, the Exalted, in exchange for some spiritual exercises. This is a highly disrespectful and insincere attitude to adopt, as the Holy Quran and the traditions of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, are not credit cards which can be used to purchase worldly things such as a child or a visa. One must instead know their place and behave as a sincere slave of Allah, the Exalted, and not act as a customer. They should sincerely obey Him by using the blessings He has granted them in ways pleasing to Him. One is allowed to ask for lawful worldly things from Allah, the Exalted, in a way endorsed by the Holy Quran and the traditions of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, but must avoid other ways, as it leads to misusing the two sources of guidance and adopting a customer-type attitude towards Allah, the Exalted. To conclude, a Muslim should fulfill the primary goal of Islamic teachings by fulfilling the commands of Allah, the Exalted, refraining from His prohibitions, and face destiny with patience according to the traditions of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, and then rely on Allah, the Exalted, to aid them in all situations. The next characteristic mentioned in the main narration under discussion is that these Muslims do not believe or are influenced by omens. A narration found in Imam Bukhari's Adab al-Mufrad, number 909, warns against paying attention to bad omens, as behaving in this manner is like associating something to Allah, the Exalted, meaning polytheism. Paying attention to evil omens means that it affects one's behavior and actions. Even though black magic and the evil eye are real, it is important to understand that nothing in the universe, from the fluttering of a leaf to the sun rising, occurs without the choice and will of Allah, the Exalted. Therefore, a Muslim should remain steadfast by not bothering with evil omens or fearing witches and wizards, as they cannot cause something which Allah, the Exalted, has not willed from occurring. Instead, one should remain steadfast on the obedience of Allah, the Exalted, by using the blessings they have been granted in ways pleasing to Him, and continue with their lawful actions and choices, and only seek protection from evil things according to the traditions of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, while fully trusting in the support and overpowering choice and decree of Allah, the Exalted. I had a thought which I wanted to share. It is important for Muslims to firmly believe that they will not intensely miss anything they give up for the sake of Allah, the Exalted, whether the thing is unlawful or lawful but unnecessary. One should not fall for the whisperings of the devil by believing otherwise, as he has made it his mission to misguide people. For example, whenever a Muslim is inspired to donate charity, the devil quickly warns and frightens them with poverty, which in many cases causes a Muslim to change their mind, even though they fully believe they will not become poor donating some of their wealth. Chapter 2 Al-Baqarah, verse 268.
Satan threatens you with poverty, and orders you to immorality, while Allah promises you forgiveness from Him and bounty. And Allah is all-encompassing and knowing.
A Muslim should act on the other half of this verse and instead trust that Allah, the Exalted, will replace the thing they give up for His sake with something much better. Those who have experienced this know the truth of this statement, but those who have not must review history and observe how those who gave things up for the sake of Allah, the Exalted, succeeded in both worlds. For example, the grandson of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, namely, Imam Hassan bin Ali, may Allah be pleased with him, gave up authority in order to save the lives of countless people for the sake of Allah, the Exalted. His action had in fact been prophesied in a narration found in Sahih Bukhari, number 3629. In exchange Allah, the Exalted, granted him blessings and reward far beyond any position of authority could give him. For example, he has been declared the leader of the youth of paradise in a narration found in Jami at-Tirmidhi, number 3768. It is as if he gave up leadership in this world, and was granted a greater authority in the next world. As long as a Muslim is sincere in their action, Allah, the Exalted, will replace what they give up for His sake with something much better. Chapter 2 Al-Baqarah, verse 245.
Who is it that would loan Allah a goodly loan, so He may multiply it for him many times over?
I had a thought which I wanted to share. It is strange how some Muslims have adopted an attitude whereby they use reliance on Allah, the Exalted, as an excuse to be lazy on those matters which contradict their desires. For example, when these Muslims are told to gain and act on Islamic knowledge so that they correctly obey Allah, the Exalted, by fulfilling His commands, refraining from His prohibitions and by facing destiny with patience, they boldly reply that Allah, the Exalted, is all-merciful and all-forgiving, so they hope He will forgive them, even if they do not strive in His obedience. Even though Allah, the Exalted, is all-merciful and all-forgiving, He has set a system in this universe which requires one to act if they desire to achieve success. In addition, if they are so certain on the divine attributes of mercy and forgiveness, why do they fail to show the same level of reliance on His divine attribute of being the provider? Meaning, the one who has allocated the provision to the entire creation over 50,000 years before He created the heavens and the earth. This is confirmed in a narration found in Sahih Muslim, number 6748. Why do they not relax at home without claiming benefits or earning through a job in order to obtain their provision, and simply rely on Allah, the Exalted, to provide for them the same way they rely on His forgiveness without striving for it? This cherry-picking attitude proves their laziness and real incorrect intention. They do not rely on Allah, the Exalted, at all. This attitude must change before one's time comes, so that they instead actively obey Allah, the Exalted, and rely internally on His forgiveness and mercy. Only then will a Muslim achieve true success in both worlds. Trusting in Allah, SWT 5. I had a thought which I wanted to share. I was pondering over a common problem found amongst Muslims. When some face difficulties, instead of firstly observing themselves and their behavior to assess whether they need to change for the better and remain steadfast on the obedience of Allah, the Exalted, patiently waiting for relief, they instead turn to uneducated and inexperienced people who claim to fix worldly things through spiritual means. These people only cause a Muslim to adopt an illness which is far worse than their initial problem, namely, paranoia. These people convince Muslims that their problems have either been caused by supernatural creatures, such as jinns, or by black magic which someone has used against them. Even though jinns do exist, it is very rare for them to affect people in their worldly matters. This incorrect advice causes Muslims to become severely paranoid and superstitious over petty things, and it even causes them to grow suspicious over their friends and relatives. This only leads to enmity and fractured relationships. This attitude will also damage one's faith in Allah, the Exalted, as they will be advised in many cases to do things which are not advised in the Holy Quran or the traditions of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. It is important for Muslims to strengthen their faith through gaining and acting on Islamic knowledge. This will prevent them turning to such foolish people who cannot even fix their own problems, let alone fix the problems of others. Strong faith will prevent paranoia affecting them, as they will fully rely on Allah, the Exalted, in all situations. Strong faith allows a Muslim to understand that even if the entire creation desired to harm them, they will not be able to do so unless Allah, the Exalted, allowed it. Similarly, the entire creation cannot benefit them unless Allah, the Exalted, wills it. And every case and situation only occurs according to a set and unchangeable plan, namely, destiny. This has been advised throughout the Holy Quran and the narrations of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, such as the far-reaching narration found in Jami' at-Tirmidhi, number 2516. To conclude, a Muslim when encountering a problem should firstly assess their own behavior and rectify it if necessary, and then remain obedient to Allah, the Exalted, by fulfilling His commands, refraining from His prohibitions, and by facing destiny with patience, and avoid further problems in the form of paranoia, by avoiding people who claim to fix worldly problems in spiritual ways. I had a thought which I wanted to share. Muslims often question how they can build up and strengthen their trust in Allah, the Exalted, especially during difficulties. One of the main ways of doing this is through the sincere obedience of Allah, the Exalted, by fulfilling His commands, refraining from His prohibitions, and by facing destiny with patience. This is because the one who is disobedient to Allah, the Exalted, will always believe Allah, the Exalted, will not help them, which in turn weakens their trust in Him. Whereas the obedient Muslim will firmly believe that as they have fulfilled their duties, Allah, the Exalted, will definitely respond to them in their moment of need, which in turn strengthens their trust in Allah, the Exalted. In addition, a narration found in Sahih Bukhari, number 7405, advises that Allah, the Exalted, responds to a person according to their perception of Him. The disobedient person will always have negative thoughts about Allah, the Exalted, because of their disobedience. Whereas, an obedient Muslim will always have positive thoughts about Allah, the Exalted, because of their obedience. This thinking can weaken or strengthen a Muslim's trust in Allah, the Exalted. The obedient Muslim trusts that if they fulfilled their side of a business contract, their business partner would do the same. Similarly, an obedient Muslim trusts that as they, through the mercy of Allah, the Exalted, have fulfilled their duties, Allah, the Exalted, will fulfill His promises by aiding them throughout their life, especially through difficulties. Whereas, the one who does not fulfill their side of a business contract would not trust or hope that their business partner will fulfill their side. Similarly, a disobedient person would not trust that Allah, the Exalted, would aid them as they failed to fulfill their duties. To conclude, having and building trust in Allah, the Exalted, is directly linked to His obedience. The more one is obedient, the more they will trust in Him. The less they are obedient, the less they will trust in Him. I read a news article a while ago, which I wanted to briefly discuss. It reported on the coronavirus, and how fast it is spreading across the world. It is important for Muslims to understand that Islam teaches Muslims to achieve true trust in Allah, the Exalted, by utilizing the means He has created in a balanced way, and then trust that the outcome Allah, the Exalted, chooses is best for them. In the case of the coronavirus, Muslims should take reasonable precautions, such as good hygiene, without going overboard, such as wearing a hazmat suit in public. But they should trust and understand a fact, namely, only the things which Allah, the Exalted, decrees can affect them. Meaning, if Allah, the Exalted, wills some benefit for someone, the entire creation put together cannot prevent them from gaining it. And if Allah, the Exalted, desires to afflict someone with something, such as an illness, the entire creation put together cannot save them from it. This has been made clear in Islamic teachings, such as the narration found in SWT number 2516. Chapter 6 Al-An'am, verse 17.
And if Allah should touch you with adversity, there is no remover of it except Him. And if He touches you with good, then He is over all things competent.
Islam teaches a balanced approach whereby one takes reasonable precautions which Allah, the Exalted, has created and provided them with, but trusts that what Allah, the Exalted, has decreed is inevitable and best for them, even if they fail to observe the wisdoms behind it. This attitude and belief prevents paranoia and stress. Chapter 2 Al-Baqarah, verse 216.
But perhaps you hate a thing and it is good for you, and perhaps you love a thing and it is bad for you. And Allah knows while you know not.
In addition, the rapid spread of this virus should encourage Muslims to sincerely repent to Allah, the Exalted, and strive in His obedience by fulfilling His commands, refraining from His prohibitions, and by facing destiny with patience according to the traditions of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. And they should especially fulfill their duty of kindly commanding good and forbidding evil according to their knowledge. This is because the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, has warned in a narration found in Sunan Ibn Majah, number 4019, that when immorality becomes widespread and public, people will be afflicted with new diseases which never occurred before them. I read a news article a while ago, which I wanted to briefly discuss. It reported on the different aspects of the universe, such as the sun, planets, and other things. At one point in history, Earth seemed to be the only significant thing in the universe. But with the passing of time and scientific advancements, it was discovered that Earth is in fact only a drop in a vast ocean, namely, the universe. It is important for Muslims to understand these scientific teachings, as it inspires one to adopt good characteristics, such as trust in the infinite power of Allah, the Exalted. When a Muslim faces difficulties and questions the help of Allah, the Exalted, they should ponder over the size of the universe and how many creatures exist in it. The Earth is a single planet in a solar system which is made up of many planets and a star. Many solar systems make up a galaxy. Many galaxies make up the universe. A Muslim firmly believes that all these things were created and are sustained by Allah, the Exalted, without any partner or help. When a Muslim reflects on this deeply, they should realize that if Allah, the Exalted, can sustain the entire universe without anything being deprived or falling out of sync, He can also take care of their issues and difficulties. Provision is something people often stress about, and in some cases, this stress even drives them to seek provision from unlawful sources. Whenever a Muslim faces this stress, they should reflect on the universe and on the countless creations which Allah, the Exalted, provides continuous provision for. If He does this, why should one suspect He will not provide provision for a person who only needs a few things to sustain themselves? Taking a step back when facing difficulties and assessing these facts is an excellent way to remove stress and strengthen one's trust in Allah, the Exalted. Teachings are found in the Holy Quran and in the traditions of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, such as the promise of Allah, the Exalted, to provide continuous provision to the creation. Chapter 29 Al-Ankabut, verse 60.
And how many a creature carries not its own provision? Allah provides for it and for you.
But the truth of these teachings is also found in the creation, such as the universe. Chapter 3 Ali Imran, verse 190.
Indeed, in the creation of the heavens and the earth and the alternation of the night and the day are signs for those of understanding.
Therefore, it is important for Muslims to firstly learn and act on the teachings of the divine scriptures, and then reflect on the creation. This will lead to the strengthening of one's faith, which includes the strengthening of one's trust in Allah, the Exalted. The Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, indicated the infinite and absolute power and authority of Allah, the Exalted, in a narration found in SWT number 2516. This narration advises that the entire creation cannot benefit a person if Allah, the Exalted, did not desire them to do so. Similarly, the entire creation together could not harm someone if Allah, the Exalted, did not desire them to. This means only what Allah, the Exalted, decides happens within the universe. It is important to note that this advice does not indicate one should abandon using means, such as medicine, but it means that one can use the means as they have been created by none other than Allah, the Exalted. But they must understand that Allah, the Exalted, is the only one who decides the outcome of all things. For example, there are many sick people who take medicine and recover from their illness. But there are others who take medicine and do not recover. This indicates that another factor decides the end result, namely, the will of Allah, the Exalted. Chapter 9 at Tawbah, verse 51.
Say, never will we be struck except by what Allah has decreed for us.
The one who understands this knows that anything that affected them could not have been avoided, and those things which missed them could never have been obtained. It is important to note that whatever the end result, even if it is against a person's desire, they should remain patient and truly believe Allah, the Exalted, has chosen the best for them, even if they do not observe the wisdom behind the outcome. Chapter 2 Al-Baqarah, verse 216.
But perhaps you hate a thing and it is good for you, and perhaps you love a thing and it is bad for you. And Allah knows while you know not.
When one truly understands this truth, they stop relying on the creation, knowing they cannot innately harm or benefit them. Instead, they turn to Allah, the Exalted, seeking His support and protection through sincere obedience by fulfilling His commands, refraining from His prohibitions, and by facing destiny with patience. This leads a Muslim to trusting in Allah, the Exalted. It also encourages one to only fear Allah, the Exalted, as they know the creation cannot harm them without the will of Allah, the Exalted. Recognizing that all things which occur within one's life and the universe originate from Allah, the Exalted, is a part of understanding the oneness of Allah, the Exalted. This is a topic which has no end and goes beyond only superficially believing that there is none worthy of worship except Allah, the Exalted. When this is fixed in one's heart, then they only hope in Allah, the Exalted, knowing He is the only one who can help them. They will only submit and obey Allah, the Exalted, in all aspects of their life. In reality, a person only obeys another in order to receive protection from harm or gain some benefit. Only Allah, the Exalted, can grant this, therefore, only He deserves to be obeyed and worshipped. If anyone chooses the obedience of another over the obedience of Allah, the Exalted, this shows they believe that this other can bring them some sort of benefit or protect them from harm. This is a sign of the weakness of their faith. The source of all things which occur is Allah, the Exalted, so Muslims should only obey Him. Chapter 35 Fatir, verse 2.
Whatever Allah grants to people of mercy, none can withhold it, and whatever He withholds, none can release it thereafter.
It is important to note that obeying a person which encourages the obedience of Allah, the Exalted, in reality is obeying Allah, the Exalted. For example, obeying the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. Chapter 4 An-Nisa, verse 80.
He who obeys the Messenger has obeyed Allah.
Over 400 free ebooks, audiobooks, infographics, podcasts and blogs available on our website, www.shakepod.com.